Has this ever happened to you? Have you ever just been minding your own business before being stuck in a thick fog and being dragged into a realm of infinite torture and suffering? Now you're phased to spend the rest of eternity fixing generators and escaping just so you can return to the same campfire? It's a Sisyphean task. You can either die or escape. Don't worry, I will tell you how to not only survive this hell, but how to potentially escape or get a promotion. So how did you end up in this situation in the first place? Well, presumably you were consumed by a black fog and drawn into the realm of the entity and forced to forever participate in survivor trials. This is the worst place to be. While both killers and survivors are prisoners of the entity, survivors are the bottom of the totem pole, being the people that are repeatedly killed to feed the entity. So if you're in the realm as a survivor, keep watching. If for some reason you're a killer watching this video, skip to the timestamp on screen to get to your part. So my survivors, how do you get out of the entity's realm? Well, there are a few options. It's possible that a few people have gotten out in the past, given the existence of certain characters in the archives, but nothing is for sure. Step 1 for escaping the trials is to tattoo yourself with info. Your memory is reset after each trial, so it's imperative you develop a system to transfer information between trials and lives. Tattoos are a great way to do this, as seen in the survivor Vittorio. If you tattoo yourself, you can keep information in the one place that does not get fully reset, your body. While damage is reset, modifications to your body seem to stay between trials, as seen by many characters having tattoos or ear piercings. So what kind of stuff do you want to tattoo and save? Basically any information you can gather. The entity's realm changes based on in-game events, and all of these changes are to my knowledge canon. So for example, during a trial, start by taking notes on the entity's form and functions. Once you start building a repertoire of knowledge, you can start to learn. In addition, this information isn't just helpful to you, but to any other survivors you come across. Other survivors have a variety of skill sets. Some have straight up magic, while others have experience fighting the supernatural or the unkillable. So once you have information on your body, you can spread that information to them, letting them also take notes. Before you know it, all the survivors will be taking notes every trial on things like weaknesses of the entity or escape routes. And rest assured, the entity does have a few weaknesses, and certain substances and offerings can directly affect its behavior and attitude, like how burning certain types of offerings can affect how close or far away hooks are, or like how once a year it has to do a purge where it releases this substance called blight because apparently it has like an infection or something. Once you have enough info, the next thing you need to do is put together a team. There are certain survivors that you should team up with when you plan your escape. Don't get me wrong, having any sort of help can be good, but there are certain people that are just leagues better in this situation. The first of these is Vittorio. Vittorio is an actual wizard who can use magic. He has a lot of knowledge of the entity and its realm, having previously studied it for a long time prior to being trapped. Supposedly, he even tracked down clues on how to stop the entity from consuming a world. If anyone would know right off the bat how to escape/fight this thing, it would be him. He's been in the realm for a long time, since at least the 1300s, and the fact that he's still in the trials means he has not lost himself to despair. Once a person fully gives into despair in the realm, they cease to exist and are consumed. The fact Vittorio has been there for over 700 years and is still around and kicking means he has the knowledge and overall disposition to make it out. He might just need the right help. On a similar note, Sable Ward and Michaela Reed both might be good allies. While they aren't as skilled or knowledgeable as Vittorio, they both are able to tap into some kind of magic power. I'll take a pair of Etsy witches over no one if that's what it comes down to. Another great option is Cheryl Mason. Cheryl is a licensed character originally from Silent Hill. She has two things going for her. For starters, she is able to tap into the power of the entity and use it for her own devices, as seen in her perks. That's already big, given no other survivors to my knowledge can bend the entity to their will, even in a limited capacity. The other thing Cheryl has going for her though, is that she has killed a god in the past. Experience killing a god is quite the resume when you're trying to escape an eldritch realm. The D&D characters are also a pretty good choice for a similar reason. A concerningly large amount of D&D games end with either you killing a god or becoming a god, so really they got an okay chance at this. Any of the Belmonts could also be a boon. They have experience fighting the supernatural. Alucard in particular is supernatural himself. Lara Croft also has experience fighting supernatural creatures, but with guns. Ashley J. Williams also has advantage fighting the supernatural, and he has the advantage of having weird slapstick comedy luck. Any of the Resident Evil crew could also punch their way out given enough motivation. But none of that compares to the potentially strongest survivor by far. Alan Wake is unironically potentially the most powerful character in Dead by Daylight. He is quite possibly stronger than even the entity. And the reason for that is simple. He created the entity and the realm. In his eternal struggle to escape the dark place, Alan Wake wrote Dead by Daylight into being. Everything he writes becomes real, and this is his latest attempt at writing something to help him escape the dark place. This obviously doesn't work as he doesn't escape until Alan Wake 2, but in the time between Alan Wake 1 and Alan Wake 2, he writes Dead by Daylight into existence, suffers through it, and then went back to the drawing board. All you really need to do to escape is to remind Alan Wake of where he is and what he's trying to do and let him write a new script. He can't write himself out of the dark place without significant work, but nothing's stopping him from changing the story so you escape and live happily ever after. Barring Alan Wake supernaturally removing you from the realms, core strategy is as such. Use tattoos and whatever other methods are available to you to constantly record information and experiences during trials. At the same time, share this information and experiences with other survivors so they can help you. Work together towards a common goal, or in the case of Alan, just get written out. Escape is possible. There's a character called Vigo. He wasn't a survivor, but he's a character in the lore. We know from his journals and the like that he did escape the entity's realm. All it involves is going to the deepest part of the void, which is the area between the trials, and then using Blight Serum for something. That's as far as we know. Vigo's notes in general have a lot to offer, because it's also implied that he created the hatch. So maybe you could also figure out how to bend the entity's realm to your will. But what if you can't escape as a survivor? For whatever reason, that's just out of the cards. Well, there is another way. You have to become a killer. When you become a killer, not only do you become more powerful, but you also gain more agency. But how does one become a killer? For the most part, killers are made in one of two ways. Either the entity yoinks a pre-existing murderer from another dimension and makes them kill for it, or it sees a person with potential and either tortures them or tricks them into becoming a killer. The entity has an eye for talent, so it's your job to perform exceptionally in order for it to scout you out. You might be wondering how you give off killer vibes if all you do is huddle around a campfire or get murdered yourself. Well, that's simple. You have to gaslight, gatekeep, and girl boss your way into being an absolute menace. You can't kill the killer, but you can absolutely bully the killer. I think every Dead by Daylight player knows the type of person I'm talking about. The people who are constantly clicking flashlights, get the killer riled up, and then force them to make mistakes would get them more angry. Either you escape, or the killer disconnects out of rage. That's how you become a killer, by being so evil and awful to actual killers that the entity is like, I like the cut of this guy's jib. Or at least that's the best I got for now. Maybe you can actually just kill a killer. None of the survivors have tried using a gun yet. So, after who knows how long you've achieved killerdom, you have a cool new look and you have some sick power. Now here's the important part. Once again, your objective is to make the right friends. Not every killer can willingly leave the trials, and to be honest, a lot of them don't want to leave in the first place, but there are a few exceptions. For example, Pinhead was never conscripted into the trials. A survivor just happened to take one of the puzzle boxes into the realm when they got sucked in. They solved the puzzle box inside the entity's realm, and Pinhead showed up to take them to hell. Pinhead is in no way employed by the entity or a hostage, he's just there to get the people who opened the box. I think the only reason he uses the sacrificial meat hooks is because being a Cenobite, he's just thankful there are meat hooks nearby to put people on. He wants to get in, take the person who solved the box, and get out. And he can't do that. His Mori is one of the few ones that don't actually kill the survivor. He sends the survivor to hell. So really, as a killer or a survivor, if you solve the puzzle box, you could just leave with Pinhead to hell. Obviously, going anywhere with Pinhead is a bad time, especially if you're a survivor, but your chances of surviving Hellraiser's hell are significantly higher than being stuck in a never-ending memory-wiping murder loop. Doubly so if you're a killer. If a killer is allowed to keep most of their buffs and new powers when they leave the entity's realm, there's a good chance they can fight their way out in most situations. Who knows, you might even be made into a Cenobite. It's not a great option, but at least you get the option. Another killer who doesn't really follow the rules is Pyramid Head. Given that Pyramid Head can choose to kill survivors himself or with cages, it seems that he's not really bound to the entity at all, it is just there for the love of the game. But let's be real, Pyramid Head is not going to be that helpful if you ask it. Same with Michael Myers, he's apparently able to resist the entity's influence enough that he can just kill people with his own hands. With all that in mind, the best killer to befriend at the cafeteria is Vecna. Vecna is unique in that he is not really a hostage. He's a godlike being in his own right and was able to easily stop the entity from kidnapping him. He only eventually let the entity take him so he could try to take its power for himself. Given how powerful Vecna is in general, it's not unlikely that he is biding his time until he can find a way to either leave or harness the entity's power. If you could somehow become Vecna's friend, partner in crime, or at minimum just a servant, there's a non-zero chance he'll take you out with him when he eventually leaves. Or perhaps as a killer you could become strong enough to leave on your own. The increased agency you get means that, given enough willpower, you might just be able to resist the entity's influence. There you are, that's how you can escape Dead by Daylight. Make a friend who's more powerful than you. That's it. You better have enjoyed this, because I had to reinstall Dead by Daylight to make it. I'll see you around.